Peace. Now's the vibrate. We ain't gonna go to the whole intro, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna keep it smoking from where we left off, but let me know if the audio and visual is good. I did close down that other live to bring it to this one and to pick up where I was leaving off again, the connections with these storylines and again the mythology in connection with anatomy, but mythology connecting to astrology. I was making an example with Jesus and him being the sun, the 12 zodiac signs being connected to 12 zodiac signs being connected to the 12 apostles being connected to the 12 zodiac signs, the 12 tribes of Israel being connected to the zodiac signs. And matter of fact, in connection with just numbers in those storylines, again, whenever you hear a certain number of, certain people in a story, let's just say, it was 7 brothers or 7 sisters, or which the 7 sisters could be a description of the Pleiadian constellation. But, if it's a description of something with sevens, that could also be the 7 chakras, are also planets. What I was going to also get into again when I was making the connection with the Christ energy or the Jesus energy being the sun, and again the storyline of resurrection and resurrection during Easter, you know what I'm saying? Where it could be the resurrection during Ishtar, you know what I'm saying? Again, the whole connection with Ishtar, Anana, Isis, Ishtar depiction. Matter of fact, speaking of Ishtar, this kind of also goes into, the Lilith story as well, in essence, because Ishtar is depicted with, having like owl feet. You know what I'm saying? Cause I was talking about like how the owl connects with the Lilith, storyline, and that also connects to the Queen of Sheba. And I was also drawing a connection to King Solomon, and again, you look at any of King Solomon's books, again, connected to the 12 tribes of Israel, are connected to the 12 zodiac signs, because any of his, if you've seen the little magical seals of Solomon, they all had to do with basically seals connected to, or you could say little sigils connected to, planetary energies, And speaking of fixed stars, one of the fixed stars that's also used as a protection sigil, is Agol, Algol, which is known as the head of Medusa, basically located in the Perseus constellation. And no coincidence, again, mythology connection to astrology, the Perseus constellation, or the Perseus story of Perseus cutting off the head of Medusa, and Perseus, constellation. Agol is the star that's kind of, in essence, looking at the constellation is almost like where the head of Medusa is, in essence. And again, and speaking of sigils, magic sigils in connection with astrology, again, a lot of the King Solomon sigils were basically sigils connected to, to that energy, to the energies of the zodiac signs and the constellations. And as I was bringing up the Christ energy in East Star, the East Star, what I'm saying, in essence, is Aldebaran, the star that's in, the Taurus constellation. But Aldebaran is basically, again, the East is where, a star, in essence, like, the sun rises from the East, or resurrects out of the underworld. You know what I'm saying? That's also the story of Ra in, the Kemetic or Egyptian mythology, where he in his boat traveling through the underworld, aka, in the area that we're not seeing, again, the subconscious, or the, because that also, when you look at your natal chart, say for instance, like you have the circle of your natal chart. This may be backwards, but you're, let's see, yeah, it's a little backwards. But if you look at your natal chart, and you have it depicted where, kind of right side up, or where the ascendant, is kind of, again, the ascendant. And of course, they don't have conscious and subconscious on your natal chart, but literally, like, the planetary placements that you have on this part of your chart, from your ascendant to your descendant part. And you could say your ascendant and your mid heaven, or your MC, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's your conscious mind. And in your natal chart, whatever planets are transiting through this area are going to be connected more so with your conscious mind, compared to if you have any planetary alignments underneath this part where your IC is, it's going to be more connected to your subconscious mind. And literally, again, like, this is the zodiac sign that was ascending over the horizon as you was born, and this part is what was descending over the horizon whenever you was born. And the sun could be, again, could have been in the subconscious area, you know, like, say for instance, you born at night, then the sun was underneath, you know, somewhere in the subconscious area, again, riding the boat, traversing through the underworld. And if the sun was like out in the sky, during your birth, then, that's the sun in the conscious mind, are traversing through the the top part of that elliptical. But again, like, all those different storylines, mythology, anatomy, again, the Christ energy, not only the sun outside of our bodies, but we talk about, the again, like, the light energy, or the chi energy, during when you're doing the microcosmic orbit breathing, which takes the chi energy from the root chakra up the spine to the crown. You know, the sun rose, and then the sun descended into hell, or, into the underworld, or into back into the root chakra. And, no coincidence that the root chakra is connected with, some of those primal aspects of our subconscious mind, because in our first, 7 years of our life, or our early development, it has to deal with the root chakra, you know, which has a lot to do with the root causes of, you know, our karmic energies, in essence, you know. So again, that energy rising up and then going back into the root. And again, as I'm explaining it, no good or bad, ain't like the root or the root chakra bad and the crown chakra good. No, the crown chakra has a toxic energy to it just as much as the root chakra could have a toxic energy to it, and vice versa, you know. But again, it's that rise and quote unquote falling, or just that, that movement of that energy within. And again, the east star, Easter, you know what I'm saying? When the sun resurrects, that's also connected to the east star, which is Aldebaran, and that's connected to the archangel Michael, you know. And so the archangel Michael kind of has like that close connection to, the Jesus energy, in essence, being born because of, it being the star of the east, you know. In the Taurus energy, I forgot which apostle that is. If it's I know Matthew is Aquarius, John, easy way to remember John, take the J and turn it into Ion, Scarp Ion. So John is the basically all of the Gospels of John is almost like the Gospels of Scorpio in essence. Gospels of Matthew, Aquarius, and I can't remember if Luke or Mark. I think Mark is Leo and Luke is Taurus, but swap it around. But do your own research. That's why you gotta do your own research. But again, you see those connections, and again, like all those storylines, start to make more sense when we're able to see it in a holistic manner, instead of, and I mean, to each his own. It's not to knock somebody who may consider these stories to, again, be like straight up like, hey, Jesus was a real person, or, Solomon was a real person, or, you know, Lilith was a real person, or Adam and Eve, you know what I'm saying? Like, because in essence, again, if it archetypically existed or mythologically existed, again, through the constellations, in some way, form, or fashion, somebody in this plane of existence also played out, some of these energies. But also, again, like understanding as well that, you know, it may have not been one person per se as much as it could have been like, more than one person living out, you know, the Christ story, you know what I'm saying? Because again, a lot of us have been through, that Christ energy, you know what I'm saying? There's not just one quote unquote, again, like, because that's the toxic promotion of that, is to make people look outside of themselves for a savior, or be sitting around waiting for somebody else to save them, you know what I'm saying? But again, it's like that Christ energy exists in you, you know, whether you're a man or a woman, the Christ energy exists in you. Whether you're a man or a woman, you're connected to the Lilith energy, the Lilith archetype, you know what I'm saying? It's connected to you, the Eve archetype, the Adam archetype, you know. This goes back to also on a deeper level, one being having an imaginary tea party with itself, you know what I'm saying? It's one being, going through all of these different, that one dot, like the best way I always explain it is the story of, how the flower of life was created, that one dot of consciousness by itself, you know, becoming aware of everything around it. And then from there, it's like, all right, it gets to 360 degrees, or the ring of Solomon, or of Sauron in some cases. And hence why, again, it's depicted in a bad, or quote unquote, like they try to make it look evil, to some extent, but again, like the full 360 degrees, to get all the knowledge, you can't just deal with your conscious mind. You gotta also go into the underworld. You gotta also go into your subconscious to get the 360 degrees, all that ring, that Frodo was wearing, and kept going through those shadow moments, you know, and dealing with that energy, So again, and that's why, again, the different angles or different angels, the different arc, because it's like an arc. The archangels, you know, Archangel Michael, connected to again the fixed star Aldebaran, or the East Star rising from the East. It's all connected. Again, birth, springing into action. You springing into the action for the first time in springtime, you know, around East Star, Easter, or Ishtar. The egg is hatching. You play, go find the eggs on Easter, you know. And also with the fixed stars move. And again, of course, and I'm going over all of it because again, I like for it to all connect, So again, like we know the angles or the angels, again, the archangels, different angles, 15 degrees in Capricorn or 20 degrees in Aries, like that's why all that be, because that's a different perspective, depending on the angle you're looking at. In simple terms, I'm facing this way, matter of fact, you think about, like, I don't know if this comes from the army or whatever, but like when people be like, hey, such and such at your 6, or at your 6 o'clock angle, which means like if something at your 6, I mean like it's behind you. Like if you was looking at a clock in front of you, you know, if the arrow's pointed at 6, it's pointed down. Like again, you're looking at a clock like this, it's pointed down or kind of behind you. If it's at your 12 o'clock, it's straight ahead. If it's at your, what I'm saying, at your 3, it's kind of to your right. If you're looking at, again, the clock right side up, but that's like when they're like, oh, at your 3, kind of like a little code name to look right, look behind you, look ahead, you know what I'm saying? But again, those different angles of perspective, and the fixed stars moving 1 degree every 72 years, and again, 72 years, so 1 degree every 72 years. So for the fixed stars to move to get the full knowledge, again, in the quote unquote timing, what I'm saying, of the, measurement by years, or what we call years, 1 degree, again, it moves 1 degree. The raw fixed stars move 1 degree every 72 years. So you take those 72 years times 360 degrees, to get that full circle of knowledge, and you get 25,920 years. And again, in most mythological stories, they talk about an age of Aquarius or the Kali Yuga. It takes, the ages change or the cycles change every 25,000 years. Also you think about the Book of Enoch, where it's talking about the different cycles, speaking to the chakras, but also because again, the chakra cycles is like a microcosmic, connection to the macrocosm, again, what's quote unquote depicted on a, not even say an external level, but just more so on a bigger level, because it's like a clock within a clock or a wheel within a wheel, you know. And again, the Saturn energy connecting with time, farther time, what I'm saying? Again, a world within a world or a clock within a clock, You could go through a 3 hour cycle or a 3 day cycle or a 3 year cycle, or, it just keeps expanding. But again, it's not necessarily, when we say micro to macro. Macro is not necessarily just like, again, like, because when you say micro, it may just in the subconscious aspect of us, when we use micro or microscope, we think of like micro, like, again, like something small that's inside, and then macro, it kind of seems like, all right, the planet's outside, but again, like, that's like a projection externally of what's inside of us. And again, it's more so, when I'm speaking to the micro macro, it's not necessarily internal and external as much as, again, it's like just on a smaller level and then on a larger level, you know, for lack of a better word. But again, the 72 years times 360 degrees, you get 25,000 again, 25,000 years. And again, when these different ages pop up, a different age, the age of Aquarius, age of Pisces. And this also points back to what I was talking about again with the different suns, where it was this planet was the sun, Saturn was the sun at one time, aka Set in Kemetic mythology, you know, and also when you get into more ancient systems, again, it was kind of like the moon and the sun, you know, the moon, and no coincidence in the comic book saga, in the comic book saga, it was about basically the two warring factions in that sense. Some of them, the ones with the ram head, like the people with the horns who spoke a certain language and they were more magical, in essence, they lived on the moon, or on the moon within the, not the moon depicted, but on a moon in a comic book, and they were called Moonies. That's like the little derogatory name for them, like, oh, the Moonies, you know what I'm saying? And they had horns and they practiced magic, and they were battling against the beings on the planet that their moon, that the moon that they was living on, the planet it was orbiting was the planet that they was like fighting against, and on that planet it was people with wings and people with because that also kind of, again, get like, shout out to Saga was a great little, vivid way to depict, ancient storyline, you know or ancient mythological story, you know what I'm saying, in a comic book. But again, the planet that the moon was moving around, the moon was battling against these beings. It was two different beings working together. They had some with wings. The people had wings, and then they was working with basically these robots and these beings where their face was basically like computer screens, you know. And hence why, again, that whole little storyline popping up in a bunch of different movies or shows, because I think Doctor Strange had they had a series like that in the Doctor Strange comic books, where Doctor Strange end up getting attacked by these people who were like science extremists. They was all about the science, and there shouldn't be no magic. Magic is blasphemous, you know. And trying to lock him up because he was sorcerer supreme dealing with magic. So it's like, oh no, you can't be doing this buffoonery, again, from their perspective. But when, again, both of them are in essence one and the same, are connected, But yeah, Saga dealing with the moon energy and the ancient, because that's why I was getting at, like with astrology. And as I started the live, of course, now it's two videos, but starting the first part of this live, I was speaking on the Vedic astrology in connection with the nakshatras. And matter of fact, in the mythology, which I don't remember all of it verbatim, but the mythology with the nakshatras is connected to the moon. Again, 27 nakshatras, and it's connected to, again, the moon taking like 27, 28, days, what we call days to fully cycle, go from its full moon through all the different, quarter, gibbon, all those, new moon back to full, a new moon back to new moon, a full moon back to full moon, however you want to see it. But the moon and you could say in Hindu mythology, it I think the name was Chandra, if I'm not mistaken. But the Chandra, again, depicted as having multiple, I think it was like multiple different wives, and he was only showing one wife more attention. But, again, just getting to the perspective of, again, dealing with the storylines, and, the more ancient storylines may speak more to the subconscious, and because I was making the connection with Set, you know, and the Set energy, connected to the subconscious energy, you know, like the Set energy, you know, he was depicted as like, in essence, like the subconscious energy, like the primordial, the more uh primordial older energy. And that's also again connected to the Saturn energy, because Set, Setion, Satan, you know what I'm saying? But a Shaitan, that's connected to the Set energy, and depicting Saturn, going from Saturn to basically, turning into a sun, at a certain point. But yeah, let's see. Oh, no coincidence. West coming here at 11:11, but yeah, you see all the different little storylines connecting with, again, the mythology, astrology, anatomy. It's all connected. And as I was talking about the retrogrades earlier, right now with a lot of us, you know, like finishing up, the transmutation of old karmic cycles, stepping into new cycles, realizing somebody had posted something about grieving. It's something simple that most of us done heard before. Basically, you shouldn't tell someone how to grieve, and I thought of like, how, grieving is different things across the board. And let's say grievance or mourning in essence, but basically like, when somebody transition, what I'm saying, quote unquote, what some people call die, a person is grieving because, somebody transition. I thought about how we could grieve over multiple transitions, like whether, you're grieving over a aborted business or plan, grieving over a certain partnership no longer existing or transitioning. You're grieving over a certain relationship no longer existing or transitioning. Grieving over, a certain you could say mission, you know what I'm saying, but that kind of goes to plan in essence, or a certain part of your soul mission in essence, like transitioning, like you didn't transition out a certain part of it and you're going into a new part of your soul mission, you know, grieving over actual uh abortion, with a baby, you know what I'm saying, grieving over the the death or the transition of a karmic cycle, grieving over a death or transition of your old self into, you know, the greatest version of yourself. But like I realize again, like right now, a lot of us could be going through grieving processes in some way, form, or fashion right now, Because I laugh at myself the other day, it's like, it's that Capricorn archetype for sure, but like looking for like old, like I was looking through my old paperwork, like old stuff from like elementary school and high school. A matter of fact, even sitting down and laughing at one of my high school papers, you know what I'm saying? It was like basically like writing paragraphs about different subjects, like what would I do with $1 million or this and that. Cause one of them I laughed because it was like, damn, I had that way of looking at things even in high school, where it was basically about like being my unique self. And it was like I'll be my unique if somebody like basically would like try to harm me because of being my unique self, is like they'll just have to harm me because I'm gonna be my unique self regardless, you know what I'm saying? But to see myself write that in high school in a moment where I wasn't really that aware of a lot of esoteric information. I mean, of course, again, like we all was in tune in some way, form, or fashion throughout our lifetime. But just to see that in high school, and just see like you know just a confirmation of like seeing how aware in some way I was of like how important it is to be my unique self, you know what I'm saying, and not care what people think about, on that level. But again, like going through those transitions, like we might want to look at old pictures of ourselves, do the whole throwback Thursday picture thing, you know what I'm saying? Again, it's okay for, to have those moments, but again, it's like not holding on to the point where we're not growing, and not moving forward. But again, a lot of us, transmuting certain karmic cycles, create new cycles, responsibility. Again, Saturn is about responsibility, how you're responding to you know, triggers. Did you pass? Are you passing the class? Because Saturn is also like, again, like that classroom energy. Earth is the classroom. You know, the moon is gonna be amplifying the waters. You know what I'm saying? Amplifying or basically affecting the tides of the emotions in the subconscious, and Saturn is going to be grading you on it, how responsible how responsible are, you're looking at your responsibility, because again, if one would say, hey, everything is, you have no control over anything, it's all destined, and at the least you have the ability to respond differently than you did before. You know, again, instead of quote unquote reacting the same way that you had in past situations, you could respond differently, you know. And again, that has its little connection as well. Again, going through those little grievances. Oh wait, live chat. All right. Grieving on multiple different levels. These retrogrades, again, like we're about to go through, a strong retrograde, little session, ending out this year. Well, starting from now, kind of going into ending out this year. Well, most of them are going to be, you know, again, most planets are going to be retrograding. I say like almost all of them during the month of September. Like September is gonna be like a retrograde, and like almost every planet gonna have a little aura. If you're looking at a little astrology app or whatever, almost all planets will definitely be retrograding in September. But it's like going through those reviews, you know what I'm saying? Again, like reviewing, revisiting, to make sure we get those lessons. And again, with the nodal, with the north node, south node switching into new signs, regardless if it is our own north node return, north node, south node return, it's still going to be a pivotal moment in general. Again, when it just comes to what the nodes stand for, as far as like again, like going back into your comfort zone karmically, and staying in that old state of being, or tapping into create new cycles and going into your north node. you know what's up, Straight Panther? Peace, always great to see you, man. But yeah, it's again definitely a little preparation energy, making sure we're moving through. Again, that's going to be the name of the game right now. It's kind of showing us, like, in essence, like again, moving through instead of trying to move around. Like, it ain't going to be no going around these things. It's like you're going to have to push through, move through these energies. And I say push through, like, again, like you're forcing things to happen from that perspective, but push through as far as like, again, like facing things that we have to face. Because ultimately, again, and I'm grateful that, to just become aware of, that importance, of like how everything just points to, not say everything, but in essence, just dealing with subconscious work and getting to the root cause, you know. That's even again like what I speak about with dealing with crystals. It's like you could help a symptom with crystals, but ultimately, you want to, program the crystals, or point the intention of the crystal towards helping you heal the root cause of something instead of just covering up a symptom. You know what I'm saying? So there's definitely again a lot of great changes happening right now. The only thing that's if it does feel, you know, like bad, or like everything is not going your way, in essence, is just because you're again like moving through certain, certain energies that has always been, a challenge in past lives up until this moment, you know. But the key is to again like keep it moving, stay in motion, even if it's slow motion better than no motion, you know. Slow motion better than no motion. Much love to the tortoise in the race. Matter of fact, anything that y'all wanted to talk about other than whatever I done brought up already, or something you want to talk about in connection with, some of the stuff I done spoke on, type it in the chat. Also, right now, I could kind of see like that energy of, how we created. Like you could see, why your soul fam is your soul fam, how certain people are more so soul familiars. Not again, because soul fam, the root word to family is familiar in essence, but like like how you got like soul fam that's like so, like the energy is so on point, like where y'all barely even have to talk, like just things just line, like the energy is like like bam, and then there's some people who you connect with, it ain't that super cohesive, you know what I'm saying? It ain't like it ain't super cohesive with ease, but it ain't like a beefing or like a harmful energy in it either. But it's just kind of like, you know, like all right, they seem pretty cool, and I could sense that, I done had lifetimes around them before, but it it don't just kind of mesh like some people where it's just like damn, like it's almost like we telepathically, just energetically kind of just smoothly connect compared to like other people where again like it's a connection or familiarity there, but it's just not as cohesive or again like as easy for it to kind of connect like with others. And I realize again like certain moments, like say for instance when we're having our underworld moments, or we're going through past energies, and certain dealing with certain people of our past where it's like you outgrown certain people, and it's like no hard feelings. So it's like, it's like a level of love there, but you having to move on to connect with, those who are in alignment with, how you moving as you're transforming and growing, and say transforming, but as you're tapping into who you really are and making those changes, you're aligning with people that's on that same dimensional wavelength, and seeing like, all right, that's why in, you know, again, in this present lifetime, you come across people where it's like, all right, or like, certain people, where it could be whether it's family members or friends that you're kind of outgrowing, but you're outgrowing them, but it ain't no like, I hate you type of thing, it's just like, all right, it's kind of moving smoothly, or even people who, because it's different little intricate layers to it in essence, but you could have like the people who, you know, like let's say you're you're dealing with an old pattern that you have to deal with. Let's say you're working a 9 to 5, or you're, and not to make it sound like, again, like working a 9 to 5 is bad or anything, but what I'm speaking to is like where you're dealing with the energies that, again, you're going to grow away from. But when you're in that energy, again, like let's say you're becoming an entrepreneur, but when you was working a 9 to 5, you was working with certain people that, things did click. Like y'all was on point at the job, you know what I'm saying? But then you grew away from that job and started your own business. And now you don't see that person as much anymore, you know what I'm saying, that you was working that job with. And let's just say like a reincarnation situation happened, y'all different people in another lifetime, you know, it's like damn, so and so kind of cool. It's like it may not be that super soul connection like the people who you constantly grow, like every lifetime, no matter what dimension, you know what I'm saying, no matter what the situation, where y'all always kind of growing together. Like again, you got that connection with again what we may call soul fam on that level, and then you got like those, familiars that's not exactly on that same wavelength as you're growing, all the way through. Cause that's why the familiarity comes in on like the super familiars, you know what I'm saying? Or like, again, like damn, cause again, I think of like when I had experiences around people I never met before physically, but it's like, damn, you feel like my fucking brother or my sister, and you ain't even said where you from yet, you know what I'm saying? You ain't even said you like some of the things I like or any of that before you even open your mouth. Again, because the energy speaks, you know. It's like, man, your energy just says, and it's a vice versa, And that's how you could tell too. Cause it's like, all right, the connections that may come from a more dense, perspective are like where it takes more words. Like, all right, we got to have a conversation in essence to kind of show how we're connected or to become, and I mean, you have a conversation with, even so familiars in essence, but again, those people who you really, really mesh with, but, again, the talking is more of a denser version of communication compared to like just energetic communication where like I would just being in each other's presence is almost like a form of communication, like where you don't even really have to say much, like a person just in your presence, and they could just pick up on the fact that maybe you guilt trip yourself a lot, and that's probably something that always happened through different lifetimes, together as y'all grew. So when they get around you, they automatically like you don't even have to tell your story, and they like, oh man, don't feel guilty, bro. You know what I'm saying? Or sis, you know what I'm saying? Like they already there with it, you know what I'm saying? Because that's a strong connection compared to like those who you may have to talk to a little more to get the points across or communicate, or you know what I'm saying? Well, again, like that comes from those more denser experiences. Still some form of familiar energy to it, but it's not as smooth and with ease, and it takes more talking in the connection to get to know the person, in that sense. But like again, like I'm kind of peeping out, almost like I ain't gonna say a deja vu vibe, but it's like again, like sensing like what, like all our little karmic relationships and how they end up happening in essence. Say, how does one actually find or attract a high vibrational friend after years of having none? Uh, it's, you know, and this came up, matter of fact, in Avatar, a little story. I'm gonna kind of get into answering it, but it's gonna go a little uh on Avatar, the last Airbender. The Avatar lost Appa. Appa is like his little flying yak or whatever. And Appa, you know what I'm saying, kind-hearted animal, man, you know what I'm saying. But Appa had got stolen, and Appa went through all kind of shit. He had some firebenders harassing him, so he kind of became kind of triggered by fire. Like he went through a bunch of traumas to the point where when he came across somebody who was kind-hearted, he still was like growling at him, like, it's like, bro, I done been through so much shit. I'm just not in you, you know what I'm saying? I don't care what it is, man. I'm on guard on you, until he kind of just got to a place of just kind of realizing, in so many ways understanding, like, all right, he just having a tough time, in essence, like opening up the heart chakra again and trusting, because of the traumatic situations he had been through in that brief period of time of being stolen. But to get to what you're asking, because there's like two different aspects to it. First aspect simply is, again, like, as we align ourselves and do whatever inner work we have to do to align our vibration, we'll start to attract people that's on the same vibration as us. Again, like, what we experience, what we are experiencing externally is our subconscious mind, whether we want to accept that or not, and yes, certain certain things we've been through, like, say for instance, a certain person we attracted in the past may have harmed us, may have been manipulative towards us, or certain, situations we done been through, you know, that had to deal with an external person, you know, let's just say being harmful towards us. But again, even still, our subconscious ultimately attract us to that situation, and our subconscious put us in a space to allow that to happen. You know what I'm saying? You could also even go deeper and say, like, the karmic imprint with within your being, your, whether it's DNA, your ancestral DNA, karmic imprint slash subconscious imprint, which again, like, recreated those situations. Because you could also see DNA is almost like, like constellations or stars within yourself, and like how certain stars align or how certain stars are activated. But again, it's you aligning is an internal thing, and what I reason why I brought up the whole trust thing, because all right, you get to a space where you're kind of consistently, and when we say vibing, like high vibrational, a better word for it would be like vibrating in a harmonized manner, which again is, in essence, high vibrational. But say for instance, you still gonna experience quote unquote low vibrations. Again, your root chakra is a low vibration. You know what I'm saying? Like, being grounded is a low vibration, you know, being in your higher chakra is a higher vibration. But again, just because you're in your high chakra, you could have you could have your crown chakra overspinning or underspinning. And even though that chakra is a high vibrational chakra, it could create some distortion, or, some type of distorted delusional energies in your experience, you know. And the same thing with your root chakra, in essence. Again, like, root chakra vibrate, use the opposite analogy. the root chakra vibrates at a lower frequency than the crown, but the root chakra could be, balanced and create an experience where you're grounded and you're not always in a fearful state of being, you know what I'm saying? So what we call high vibrational is more so being in a vibration of balance, of harmony and integrity, and again, you could, because like say for instance, I could use a piece of moldavite. I could work with a piece of moldavite or meditate, and that could take me into a high vibration. But again, like emotions is a full spectrum thing, and negative emotions or lower vibrational emotions, of course, like the healthier you become on your growth, the more integrity and harmony that you build within, those emotions don't like take over you as much as they used to, but they still pop up. So you still have a moment of anger or of possible sadness, you know what I'm saying? Like those things are still gonna come up, but you move through it, like again, energy and motion, like you move through it in a healthy manner, you know what I'm saying? To the point where again, how you respond, your responsibility to respond to those lower vibrational energies are such in a harmonized manner that like you maintain a healthy vibration overall due to how you deal with the low vibrations and high vibrations, you know but saying all that to say, you know if you are vibrating high but you seem to still not be connecting with people, it may be because you may be doing certain high vibrational things or things considered to be high vibrational, but deep down inside having to get over the hump of fully trusting people or fully being open to connecting with people again, you know what I'm saying, or something of that nature, or you may have like you're doing certain high vibrational things but you got a subconscious programming that says in order to be spiritual I gotta be alone, you know uh most of the time, you know what I'm saying? Like it could be little subtle things like that that could be blocking us from, connecting with people. So it could be like subtle subconscious programmings. It could be the subtlety of not, getting all the way back into that space of, fully trusting. Because again, having moments where like, like kind of going back and forth, like, well, we kind of in a state where our heart chakra is open. Are we open to trusting people? And then we kind of may get triggered into like kind of getting closed off for a second again, you know, and having to deal with that. But uh I trust that, the way I explain that could help with what you, speaking on. Yeah, I talked about that JH, like again, like grieving how you need to grieve, like not that's a process that in essence can't really be rushed, you know because I even think about like the grievance, not necessarily of somebody transition, but like the grievance of letting go of certain, you know whether it's relationships, certain, you know certain plans you might have had at one point, you know what I'm saying, and having to deal with that transition or, like that no longer being a thing, like having to get over that, you know what I'm saying, even if you think you are over it, you know what I'm saying, it's like it may still be coming up. But yeah, you got to move through it however you need to move through it, long as you're not, self-destructing yourself, But oh yeah, that's definitely that's funny because that just came up on Avatar too. He was learning about the different chakras, and he got to the crown chakra, and the his teacher was like, "All right, now in order to clear and open the crown chakra, you got to release attachment to the physical." And he was like, "Picture the things that that you feel attached to in this realm." And the avatar started thinking about Katara. Katara was like his little boo thing, you know what I'm saying? Like a little, like his little girlfriend in essence, you know. And he in the meditation, and matter of fact, he visualizing his higher self, going towards his higher self. Well, like again, like working on trying to release that attachment to Katara. And well, at first he was kind of like stubborn about it because when he started visualizing, like, all right, I'm, in so many ways attached to Katara, man, no, like, how can I just let go of Katara? You know what I'm saying? Like, man, that's my boo thing. You know what I'm saying? I can't just let go of Katara like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man, focus, tap in, man. You gotta, So he went back into the meditation and again was kind of moving towards his higher self, but then telepathically, he picked up on the energy that Katara was in trouble. So mid meditation, like literally, like the little stairway that was kind of leading him to his higher self started like crumbling, and he fell back into his body. Kind of like out of the astral plane into his body, and told the teacher like, man, I just can't do it. I'm going to save Katara. And he was like, but no, if you go save Katara, you're not going to be able to fully open your crown chakra and activate your avatar energy. But he was like, man, fuck what you talking about. I'm going to save Katara. And obviously because I'm still watching some of those episodes, but the fact that the avatar has a second series after that, I know things worked out in some way, form, or fashion. He got that crown chakra right, but uh, yeah, it's like that energy of you know attaching, and I mean detaching and realizing again, detaching. When we hear that, some may feel like it's like, oh, just completely like at cold towards these things, or like completely like let it go. Like when we say detach from the material realm, it's not to detach, because if you detach fully from the material realm, in essence, it's almost like, you know, trying to leave your bodysuit, not being grounded. It doesn't mean like to detach. It's more so to detach is more so like not letting that, like not holding on to it, to a space of like feeling like you can't move on when it's time to move on. You know, it's like again, I take care of my bodysuit, you know, feed my bodysuit, do all these things, ground all that, but then still be detached in a space where when it's time to transition out of this bodysuit, though, I'm gonna be able, to transition from out of this bodysuit, but it's being present in it. Because again, a lot of us, as beings that's not used to being in this team suit, aka the team spelled backwards, this meat suit, you know what I'm saying? Y'all got to catch the earlier part of the live when I was talking about the meet and the team. But to those of us who not used to being in this bodysuit, it could feel like it's tough to, ground ourselves. And again, that's what I was going to say. Like, that's the karmic energy for some of us as well, is to stay fully grounded and fully present in our bodysuit as we, you know, do what we got to do in this classroom called Earth, in this being called, or in this, being in this bodysuit and being in the bodysuit of what we call Earth, you know, in the being of what we call Earth. It's like being fully present in the experience. Because again, like making an analogy to the classroom, like if I go to my class, I'm in my kindergarten class, but then while I'm in kindergarten, I'm just sitting around just thinking about, man, I can't wait to get home. I ain't paying attention to this teacher talking about no ABCs. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And now, what's cool about that analogy, I just caught too though. Some of us so naturally gifted, we could not pay attention in class. We don't have to pay super attention, like as much as others. You know, like say for instance, those of us who kind of like didn't really pay attention in class, but still passed some of the tests. You know what I'm saying? And that has to deal with that goes into the level of some people talk about like the strength of your chi or your prana or your birthright energy. Shout out to this much love this sis named Nicole Ray. uh I don't think she on YouTube, but I saw her speak on it. But again, like your like having pranic reserves or pranic energy, like how much chi energy you have, like literally being like a currency. Because again, it's a current flow, it's a current of energy, our chi energy. Hence why doing like Tai Chi and yoga and these things that build up our energy, helps to transmute and, in essence, remove a lot of karmic cycles. Again, like how I brought up, like how breath work, in essence, is one of the best ways, breath work and yoga, whether it's again like the stretching yoga, because stretching in certain positions actually release trauma from the cells of the body. Talking about the psoas muscle a while back, and like how the psoas muscle is a muscle that holds some, is responsible for holding the most trauma, from different lifetimes and stuff like that. So by simply getting in a child's pose or riding a bike or doing things that kind of exercise, like bringing your knee to your chest, kind of exercises the psoas muscle. Either look up the video I did on it. PSOAS is the name of the muscle. You can look up on my Eternal Health playlist. I got all different videos with also like with stretching and meditation and stuff like that. But again, you could heal, that's kind of like, you could say, one of the shortcuts to, helping to remove that karma. Again, the breath work. And that's why I was talking about like building up your chi energy, your currency, and that's what I was speaking to, like, some, like the students who don't have to, not say they don't have to, but like they could still pass the class, or AKA get out of a lesson loop without, you know, having to continuously repeat the class or repeat that lesson, because although they wasn't paying attention much, they got the type of chi energy to still, pass that class again. And like the analogy of some of us, again, was the type of students where we didn't pay attention much, but learning just came easy to us, where we still was able to pass the class in essence, you know. But and what it's all full circle from was, again, like, having to be grounded in our bodysuit or being fully present in our now moment. In the analogy of being present in our now moment, being present in our body, being present in this incarnation instead of being all floaty. Because again, some of us had to repeat the lesson because we were just trying to float away. And it's like, be fully present in your bodysuit, because also, that speaks to, you know, not to get into the super dark area of it, because I think of the movie Insidious, but the energy of, though, like not being present in your bodysuit allows for something else to be present in your bodysuit. So you want to be present in your bodysuit, you know what I'm saying, present in your being, present in its incarnation. But again, in the analogy to going through class, and again, I'm sitting in class like, man, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And I'm not paying attention to my ABCs. I'm pushing my test to the side, you know, quite literally and figuratively, in the analogy of what I'm using. But, it's like pushing the test paper to the side and like, just ready. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. You gonna fail that class, you know what I'm saying? Because although, yeah, you wanted to go home and you knew your home wasn't in that classroom technically, you know what I'm saying? Like the classroom is a beautiful place, you know what I'm saying? You can learn a lot and all that, but the classroom is not your home, but you in this classroom and it's now a moment. And the best way to pass is to pay attention to what's going on in the classroom. You know what I'm saying? AKA, paying attention to what's going on in this earth plane experience and what's going on in your bodysuit, in order to pass the class, pass, the Saturn karmic cause and effect class, you know. And again, that's why analogies be so much, it kind of helps to kind of grasp, what's going on. Especially more lighthearted analogies like the comparison to a classroom, because there could be ways to express it that could seem much more harsh than comparing it to a classroom. you know you know say a classroom, but yeah, awareness, with again like matching up with that being, is like just making sure that we consistent and persistent at taking care of ourselves. Like the more you make sure that you're in alignment, and it could seem tough, especially for those of us who like that companionship, you know. But again, it's like the vibration is what manifests things. If you're in a vibration of like lacking something, in essence, then it won't come in essence. If I'm in a vibration of chasing something, or if I'm in a vibration of something being lost, like I won't find it. But again, if I'm in a vibration of like I gotta chase money, you know, then I'm creating money running from me in essence, because I feel like I gotta chase it. You know, if I feel like, again, like, and it could be very subtle, what I'm saying? Hence why, paying attention to ourselves very closely, you know, sometimes having, and that be the whole thing too, is like, if it keeps feeling like, it's not lining up or something, is like something we having to realize within ourselves. Hence why we're not connecting with nobody in that moment, because it's like the universe, like sit, pay attention to yourself a little closer. So you need to be to yourself. You know what I'm saying? I say be to yourself like you never connect with anybody. In essence, as far as like socializing, like you have social experiences in essence, but it's like mostly being to yourself to really peep out something that you're not peeping out, so that you could connect with that companion, or that that person that you want to connect with. I feel like, though, me personally, I do feel though like another thing in which, though, it's kind of a thin line, between the energy. Like, yeah, you want to make sure that you do your best to be in alignment before connecting with that special somebody. And at the same time, I do feel like those, there is this energy of perfection that some of us be looking, like toxic perfection, that we be looking for out of ourselves, and vice versa. Like, where there's, you know, like again, like people like, oh, I'm not getting with nobody till I'm perfect. Like you ain't gonna, it ain't gonna be no such perfect. Like you're gonna always be, in some way, form, or fashion, where we will say working on ourselves in some way, form, or fashion. So you're not gonna get to a point like, oh, all right, I'm completely done. Now I'm ready for, what I'm saying? It's like, you know, is that energy of, yes, you want to be, as healthy as possible before connecting with somebody, like, because two people in a in quicksand and can't help each other are gonna be sinking together. I mean, that sounds like a nice love story in some cases to some people, but to others that may sound like a horror story, sinking in the sand, you know, with your loved one, in that sense of it. So you want to be in a vibration where you're not harmful, like where you're not extremely, still dealing with a lot of extremely tough karmic energies, to the point that when you connect with that person, y'all more helpful than harmful to each other. It still may be dealing with a little thing, still may be working on something, but ultimately y'all healthier for each other than harmful for each other, you know. So that's that's a thing to that too. Could also see the energy of, like, as you're saying, that matches your healthy goals and purpose, you know, also having to make sure that we're in alignment with our true purpose in essence as well. Because sometimes we could be, in alignment, or like kind of like trying to align with a purpose that's more so aligned with our ego, or with something old or outdated, or just something that's not best for us, because it may be certain things that's best for us as far as, like, again, purpose or goals, but we it's something mentally or whatever emotionally that's kind of blocking us from being open to that true goal or purpose. So in order for us to not just be aligning with anybody, you know it's like you don't really connect with nobody just yet, because that goal and purpose that you think is your true goal and purpose is not really your true goal and purpose, or that that you're really gonna, like, your highest goal and your highest purpose, you know uh what you think that is, may be coming more, again, more so from ego than it is in alignment with your soul energy, for lack of a better word. So again, not aligning with anybody, because it's kind of like the universe, like, in essence, yourself, the universe, because universe, because sometimes, when using the word like universe, in essence, kind of makes it seem like you have no control in it. It's like, no, you are the universe. There's a macrocosmic aspect of the universe, and there's a microcosmic aspect, and there's a part of the universe where you're gonna plan and take action, and there's a part of the universe where you do surrender. But it ain't just always surrendering, like, oh, I'm just leaving it up to the universe completely, like, because, again, subconscious programming, you may still be having a religious perspective of the sky daddy, aka like God is outside of me, and you instead of using the word God, you use the word universe, but it's still kind of like the same thing, as if, like, like, oh, just let the universe or this, God do everything, and I'm not gonna do anything, you know. But the key awareness is to be aware of what's best for yourself, because some of us may have been so hands-on. Matter of fact, think of the Pisces, speaking of south node, north nodes earlier. South node and Virgo, north node and Pisces. You may have been so hands-on and like, oh, organize and let me control this, organize that. What I'm saying, your south node may have been in Virgo. So in this lifetime, you're meant to tap into the Pisces energy, which is more surrendering and not trying to micromanage everything. You know what I'm saying? But so again, surrendering to the universe may uh be a little more healthier for a person with, North Node and Pisces, South Node and Virgo. But even still, you're still gonna have some way, form, or fashion of being hands-on, because again, you are, part of the universe. Again, it's like the analogy of, sitting down in a house, wishing for some food and meditating about eating some food, but you're just sitting down meditating and, and visualizing and affirming about food, but then you don't get up, like, and say you're doing those affirmations and visualizing the food, and it don't come to you. you know well, now, you need to go up, get up, and go get that food. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a balance. Asia say North Node and Virgo. All right, so you was more like, so it was opposite. You was more into the subconscious, more, Neptune floaty. And I say like Neptune is just floaty, but like spiritual, you know, again, less organized, more tapped into that right brain energy, let's say it like that, you know. And in this lifetime, meant to kind of be more organized, be more about detail orientation, be more into that earth element, you know what I'm saying, and kind of, hands on, making things happen in the physical compared to, you know, uh, compared to, again, the Pisces energy. Also, again, Virgo energy, focusing on, like, health, detoxing, and nurturing yourself through the earth energy more so, because Pisces has like a nurturing energy, but it's more so it's leaning towards more of the spiritual, emotional, again, and subconscious nurturing, compared to Virgo is like more so physical, uh mental, from the conscious mind aspect, what I'm saying, ruled by Mercury, but earth sign, you know. Let's see if your North Node is in Virgo. So, I mean, in Vedic astrology, a sidereal, your North Node may be in Libra, South Node in Aries. Cause that's another thing too. I realized, like, put my sidereal and my sidereal and, tropical natal chart kind of side by side in essence, and kind of, again, like, instead of like playing duck season, rabbit season with it, like, oh, it's Western astrology, Vedic astrology, Western astrology. It's like, oh, like, see how both of them work together. You know what I'm saying? Like, the key is to harmonize it and integrate. Like, how can I integrate my Vedic chart, and that's if you done got there. Again, this ain't speaking for everybody. In essence, if you just getting into natal charts, and that's too much, it could be too overwhelming to uh, get to that space. But again, I've been checking it out for a nice little second. Yep, it's like seeing that side reel and Western connection instead of trying to make the charts beef. It's like seeing how they connect. But but matter of fact, let me see. Say your North Node is in Libra. So this little nodal, change is gonna affect you. This is kind of a reversal. So instead of like a nodal return, it's kind of like a nodal reversal for you coming up in July. I spoke to again in July. The North Node is moving into Aries and the South Node moving into Libra. And there's going to be a little reversal energy, kind of like, again, kind of marking the energy of like becoming more aware of, you could say, how to harmonize your, well, it would go into a year, but I would just say like how to harmonize, the energies of, Libra and Aries, within your experience. Like the return energy is kind of like seeing like, all right, it's a checkup to see if you're in alignment with your North Node, like are you moving with your North Node, or are you kind of stagnant and, repeating lessons because you're hanging on to your South Node? But the reversal kind of has like a energy of like not necessarily a testing, or, you know, not necessarily a test or to see if you're in alignment with it, but more so to just kind of help you and kind of, you know, give perspective of, kind of bringing a perspective of balance in that connection, instead of like making sure to focus on your North Node. Is more so like, all right, yeah, see the importance of your North Node, but also see the importance of your South Node as well. Yeah, love space, no problem. But again, uh, recapping again, like bringing up all the retrograde energies that's coming up. The lunar nodes shifting this year soon. Got the summer solstice happening in a couple of days on the 21st, June 21st. Tonight, in essence, this morning, still in essence, the new moon in Gemini. And with the retrogrades coming up and the lunar nodes going into new signs this year, but then also right now Pluto is retrograde and it is square to the lunar nodes, and square meaning that it's at a 90-degree angle. Because I know I haven't done videos just talking about astrology, astrological aspects, or what they call aspects in astrology, which again is squares, sextiles, oppositions, quincunxes and semi squares and all that type of stuff. But just simply put, squares like when a planet, planet asteroid, or even shadow planet in essence. So when we talk about Lilith, Black Moon Lilith, but the again the North Node South Node is square, both of them, because they one hate North Node and South Node always going to be opposing each other, 180 degrees from each other, looking across at each other, and the squares is 90 degrees from each other, and squares are kind of like a so opposing energies is kind of like opposing in a manner where it's kind of still you can kind of work with it a little bit, and squares kind of have like more of a challenge, like where they opposing, but the challenge is a little bit stronger than opposition. Opposition is more so like we on different sides, but I ain't completely against you. I'm just sitting in a different perspective than you. But then squares kind of, in essence, on an analogy level, is kind of like, kind of like being close to each other and not really like is a sharp angle, 90-degree angle is a sharp bumping heads type of, energy. So again, like Pluto dealing with deep transformation and change. Our North Node, South Node deals with our karmic, energies, or energies of changing from again, South Node of what we used to in past lifetimes, and North Node, what we not really used to, and what promotes growth and change, and basically helps us to, you know, remove ourselves from these karmic cycles. Again, that being squared, that's kind of gonna bring up again, like again, this is gonna be uh and for some, not all, again, like as I say that, for some it'll be more lighter than it is for others. So it's not like it's like, oh man, time's about to be tough through this retrograde. It's like, nah, it depends on how much, what I'm saying, how much we've been paying attention to the lessons and what we need to do. Uh, and that degree may be, the degree of challenge, the percentage of how challenging that is may vary from, person to person, from individual experience to individual experience. But of course, again, there's in essence a collective energy across the board of just reviewing and revisiting a lot of energies and connection. Again, the Jupiter retrograde in Taurus, reviewing and revisiting certain aspects of I could say expansion with our material aspects, expansion you know, it somewhat has that energy, not necessarily like Neptune. Neptune is more of like, raw spirituality. Jupiter is more so of like spirituality from a philosophical perspective in essence, but I would just say, like expansion with, what we value, so how we expand the things we value, the material aspects, the aesthetics of things and the sensual pleasures, like how we expand on that is being, reviewed and revisited. I already spoke on the Saturn part. That's again the other part of this live video that kind of stopped midway. Uh, then also the Uranus retrograde in Taurus as well. You know, we'll be speaking to the eccentric, unique, in some way innovative, but the eccentric unique is be a review more so just straight up like kind of dealing with, first thing I think of is like the whole cryptocurrency and just different forms of how we deal with, currency in a innovative, unconventional way, you know, maybe revisiting, if you already done tapped in with, NFTs and cryptocurrency or different forms of bartering, you know, that'll be coming up for review, you know what I'm saying? In the retrograde with Uranus and Taurus coming up, different, again, unique and innovative forms of how we connect with our sensual nature. Because Taurus, deals with the sensual, like pleasures. Taurus is, kind of like that, again, that Venus energy and Earth energy. So valuing the sensual aspects, especially connected to the material, enjoying the aesthetics aspects, especially connected to the material. Again, or the Earth energy element. And then you got the Neptune and Pisces, the review, you know, again, reviewing and revisiting could be like illusions that, again, like certain things that were illusionary in connection with our subconscious, because Pisces, subconscious, in essence, like the compassion aspect, because the Pisces represents going through all 360 degrees from Aries, going to Pisces, right before Aries starts again. But it's like going through each archetype and seeing how each archetype, you know, you know, in essence, how each archetype is, seeing how each archetype is as a being, in essence, and having empathy, or I ain't gonna say sympathy, but having empathy, because it's like, oh man, I see why the Aries do what it does and why Taurus do, because it done been through that whole little circle, and hence why the Christ energy was depicted as connected with the Pisces energy, you know, hence the little fish symbols for. Of course, it goes on other deeper layers too. Again, it's multi-layered. That's why I got so many videos hours long talking about all this different stuff, because it ain't even enough of words, enough of videos to, talk about something that, again, which the amazingness of, like to some extent putting, because kind of like what a movie is in essence, like a movie takes a storyline that takes place over, let's just say, a whole year, a storyline that takes place over a whole year or even 2 years, you know, Like, oh, I think of like, like movies that might depict somebody's whole life, like Forrest Gump, shows from when Forrest Gump was a child to when he was older, you know, and all his whole life being put into a 1 to 2 hour movie, you know. And again, it's kind of like explaining some of this stuff, sharing some of this knowledge. It's like knowledge that took place over, you could say a timeless, you know, can't really put it into a box, so to speak, but still kind of finding ways to share a lot of it in years and years of knowledge being put into 1 to 3 hour videos. There's something else that I was gonna come up with movies. Yep, a new moon. The new moon just simply the new moon is when the sun is, I mean, well, it's connected to the sun in some way, but basically the new moon is, for one, the new moon is when we not able to see the moon in essence because it's close to the sun, because again, the new moon is in Gemini and the sun is in Gemini. So that means that again, the light of the sun is not able to, from our position on Earth, we're not able to see the moon because the sun is not opposing, the moon. And again, the full moon is when the sun is opposing the moon, hence why we see it so full, because the light from the sun is shining on it. And the new moon represents like us kind of going into that darkness, into the shadows, although we're close to the sun, it's like us going into the shadow aspect, almost like kind of like going into our little corner, just like the moon, because you could say almost like the face part of the moon is like what we see when the sun is shining on it during the full moon, and the new moon is like the moon like turning its back and like, all right, I'm going in a reflective state, almost like not necessarily like a retrograde, but just more so, let's just say reflective, and introspective, kind of like just peeping out, like, all right, what I've been going through, what has been working, what isn't. And more so, like, again, new moon is about planting new seeds. I did a video about the free will cycle and the destiny cycle, and how the moon cycle represents on a microcosmic level. The new moon, full moon represents like new moon is the free will cycle, and full moon is the destiny cycle. And what I mean by that is, you know, like, these are the fruit thing, planting new seeds, uh, being able to choose, like, all right, I'm gonna plant it, I'm gonna plant that. Full moon comes, it's like, this is what I got. And the new moon is like, I plant this, plant that, and, full moon, So he says freezing, video freezing. Yeah, that's basically all I plan to share. I'm about to get out of here. Remember, if you vibe with the videos for the algorithms, for the videos to show up, hit the like button. If you like and vibe with the videos, of course, don't just hit it just to hit it. Of course, hit the like button. Any and all donations greatly appreciated. The donation links are underneath all of my videos. Just appreciate you again being in the live video, tapping in. For any connections with, the crystal talisman, tap in with my Instagram page, Epic Lifestyles, EPIKLIFESTYLEZ, Epic Lifestyles. But, yeah, we're gonna take it on in. This definitely was just a vibe again to just connect. Like I said earlier, starting the other live video, well, the same live, but the one that stopped was just like getting in that space of, and speaking of new moon energy, like planting that seed of, or you could almost say like, well, yeah, planting the seed of bringing back the energy of remembering, like, to be myself with my videos, and to remember, like, it's my YouTube channel. I don't have to wait to these perfect moments, or like, it's like, man, just press record whenever you feel like doing a video. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is you want to talk about, get on your videos and talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And not sitting around, getting in this space of just, waiting, or being, I wouldn't even say afraid, but again, it's like that perfection energy of like, oh, waiting for the perfect time. Again, now it is certain moments where, it is better than most, to record or do certain videos. But, my live videos just be for me to kind of just tap in and, you know, just connect with everybody, share what's been coming up, and see if there's any, like, questions or things people, want to talk about. But all right, JH. All right. Yeah, that Moldavite video definitely, definitely a popular video. And even now, which I already know is gonna get seen, because I don't know if that was you bringing that up earlier, about connecting, without somebody else. But like the energy of like if you're looking for roses too much, like how we talk about, like, man, people giving us our roses in essence, but I have to realize, because like I did the video about how the meteorites, whether it's Moldavite, Libyan desert glass, Agni manatite, Tibetan tektite, but all these different quote unquote meteorites may be obsidian more than it is an actual meteorite, or there's some connection with meteorites and volcanoes. But long story short, most most tektites in essence are quote unquote meteorites, are glass like, kind of like obsidian, you know, or even looking like obsidian when it comes to Tibetan tektite, in these types of crystals. But when I looked up the location of where they find in these quote unquote meteorites, they're all in areas where either there's active volcanoes or dormant volcanoes, you know, and some of them though, and most of them is like dormant volcanoes, but a volcano close around nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dang, why? Because it ain't like it's dormant volcano every single place you look in the world, you know. So it ain't like, because if that was the case, then it's like, all right, then that don't make, it's nothing important to it. But it's like, no, they all uniquely are in these areas where they find in these meteorites, you know what I'm saying? But nobody talks about that. But like being on that in that energy of like feeling like I have to get on my soapbox, and like man, people better notice this. But it's like if I get in that vibe of like, oh, people ain't noticing it. If the vibration, if I'm in the vibration of man, people ain't noticing this video, then that's manifesting the fact that people ain't noticing this video compared to like just of course I bring it up when it's moments to bring it up, but it's like getting out of that vibration of like, worrying about it on that level. Not say worrying about it, but being in that vibe and just trusting that, that people see that video and tap in with it. Cause I don't see nobody that talk about crystals, ever bring this up, so it's like, wow. But it'll have its day for sure. But peace, man. Much love to everybody, man. Greatly appreciate y'all. May the healthy seeds that you planting during this new moon manifest. And may this retrograde season that we about to go through with all these plans and retrograde, especially in September, may it be fruitful to your spiritual growth and transformation. May your ability to respond be impeccable. Your ability to respond healthily in a different manner, be impeccable, and yeah, and get ready for the advancement of this technologies, all these different technologies, be at peace with R2D2 because R2D2 is here now. The future is now. The past is now. Because that's definitely speeding up. How's the vibrate? Peace. Y'all know what it is. Not too far in the future, not too far in the past. Right now. Peace.